Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, and I'm honored and excited to have you here, so thank you so much for tuning in. This week's episode is about values. Your values in your Reiki business. But before we get to talking about values, I want to make sure to invite you to the How to Start Your Reiki Business workshop. This is a free workshop, the second of 3 free Reiki business workshops that I'm offering. And this one is on Tuesday, October 24th at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Time on Zoom. Now, if you can't join live, don't worry. Yes, you will indeed get the replay. But it's going to be a great workshop full of all kinds of information for helping you to know how to start your Reiki business. You can register at standingstoneshealing.com/ReikiBizKit. The link is down below. Now, I'm also going to throw the link down below to the Reiki Raise Healing Summit. Do you know about this event? This is an incredible event that happens every year in the Reiki community. As a matter of fact, I personally believe that it is the #1 worldwide Reiki event that happens every year. And so I'm always encouraging people to attend because the information is incredible, it's inspiring, and it's informative. I'm going to drop the link below so that you can register for the Reiki Raise Healing Summit. Yes, it is free, so don't miss out. I tune in every year and I highly recommend it. So thanks for allowing me to share those events with you. And let's get on to talking about values in our Reiki business. So why are values so important when it comes to our Reiki business? Well, indeed, they are very important. What exactly are our values? You know, our values are things that are important to us, things that resonate with us at our core, things that we really, in a sense, build our life upon. Now, I will tell you that for me, my own personal core values are love, gratitude, kindness, compassion, and respect. Of course, I have other values beyond that. I'll talk about that in a moment. But those 5 values are the core values that I really strive to live my life on and to bring to an increasing number of moments in my life. So those are very important to me, and they are values that are at my core of who I am and how I want to show up in the world, how I want to live my life. When it comes to our Reiki business is going to need to have values as well. Or at least it can be really helpful for us to define our Reiki business values, just like it can be really helpful for us to define our life values. You know, these values are things that when we are faced with a challenging decision in life, when we're unsure of where to go, where to turn, what to do, we can look to our values almost as like a lighthouse, a guiding light, a beacon to help us get through the storms of life and to find our way. We're faced with a decision. I don't know. Which way do I go? Okay. What would it look like if you brought love to the decision? Where is compassion in this decision? How about bringing some gratitude? Bring gratitude to the decision. Okay, what does it look like to make this decision from a place of respect? And so when we bring our values to our challenges, our decision making, we're going to be living in more alignment with who we are at our core. And who doesn't want more of that, right? And so values are very important in our life, and they are very helpful to really help us to navigate this tricky thing that we call life as a human. And so values can serve the same purpose for our Reiki business as well. Having values for our Reiki business can really help us to set a path for our Reiki business, to know the direction in which we want our Reiki business to go, to be able to help us with decision making. So if we're faced with a decision in our Reiki business, well, I don't know, do I offer this course or this course? Do I sell this product or that product? Or do I discontinue a product and start another one, or et cetera, et cetera? Considering our values when we're making those decisions can really help us to make those decisions from a higher place and from a place of alignment and from a place that reduces the chance of conflict for ourselves and our Reiki business. So values are indeed really important when it comes to our own personal life, and they can be very helpful when it comes to our Reiki business as well. So I first want to talk a little bit about how we can define our values, because you might be listening and saying, wow, that's great, Christian. I'm excited. I know what my values are, and I really want to incorporate them into my Reiki business. And someone else might be listening and saying, wow, you could just rattle off those 5 values, no problem. I don't know what my values are. I'm going to give you an exercise for helping you to start to think about and reflect upon your values if you're not quite sure what they are. And one of the ways that we can start thinking about our values is to just start thinking about the things that we like to do, the things that we enjoy doing, the things that light our fire, the things that really we are passionate about, whether in our personal lives, our work lives, whatever it might be, any aspect of our lives. But when we think about the things that we really enjoy, we can then think about why we enjoy them and what it is about them that we enjoy. So let's say Reiki, for instance. My guess is that probably you have a passion for Reiki, or at least you enjoy Reiki, or at least you enjoy some aspect of the system of Reiki. And so then I would encourage you to really consider why. What's at the root of that? What's at the core of that? What is that passion, that interest, that enjoyment about? So what is it about it that you like? So let's say, for instance, that you really like, when you reflect upon Reiki and your passion for Reiki, you really like the idea of peace. Peace is really important to you in Reiki. Being able to take time out and do your self-Reiki sessions, it really brings you a sense of peace. Great. That sounds like a value to me, for sure. And so maybe one of your core values is peace, and you are really focused on peace. It's important to you in your own life. And indeed, it may very well be important to your own business too. And so there you have it. Peace is one of the values. And if it's your own personal value, the chances are pretty good that it would make a good business value as well. Now, here's the thing. Our business is not us. Our business is separate from us. At the same time, we are our business. So let's wrap our heads around that for a minute. What we ultimately ideally want for our business is for the state, the system, to the IRS to see our business as separate from ourselves. Ultimately, we want our business to be separate from a legal standpoint. We want the laws to notice that we are separate from our business. And at the same time, when we are a solo entrepreneur, particularly when we are the Reiki business owner and we are operating alone, we are our business. And in many ways, we can't deny that, even though, yes, it can be very helpful to separate ourselves. Yes, I absolutely am a proponent of separating things like finances from your personal assets in the Reiki business. And so there is, on some level, separation. On another level, there isn't separation in that clients, potential clients, followers, your audience are going to see your Reiki business as an extension of you. And in many cases, it really is. I don't know about you, but I show up in my Reiki business as who I am. And so the way that I talk, the way that I treat people, the way that I interact is consistent across the board, whether in my Reiki business or outside of my Reiki business. And so in that way, you can't separate me from my Reiki business or vice versa. I do see them and experience them as very closely intertwined. And so what that means is that for my Reiki business, I strive to bring my core values, my personal core values of love, kindness, gratitude, compassion, and respect to my Reiki business. Those are core values that I am building my Reiki business on and that I have been building my Reiki business on for years. And so for me, there's no separation when it comes to those values. It may be the same case for you as well, because when it comes to those core values, it's really important that in our lives, we are living in a way that is aligned with those core values and that we are taking actions that are aligned with the core values. Because when we take action or we build a Reiki business that is not aligned with our core values, we're going to have conflict. Anytime that we make a decision that conflicts with our core values, anytime that we move forward in our lives in a way that conflicts with our core values, we're going to have conflict. Because our core values are what is most important to us. So let's say that one of your core values when you reflect is peace, and you decide that you're going to move to a noisy, maybe you're going to move to right beside an airport, and you're constantly hearing planes all day, every day. There's going to be some conflict there for you. You're either going to modify your core values and peace is not going to be as important to you, or you're going to move, or you're going to change your definition of peace or whatever it might be, but there's guaranteed going to be some conflict. And so it's important for us to make sure that when we face decisions in life, when we have questions that come up, when we take action, that we're doing so from a place of alignment with and consideration of our core values. Our Reiki business is no different. It's very important for us to be aligning our Reiki business with our core values. Otherwise, we're going to have conflict. Otherwise, we're going to have challenges. Now, we may very well have challenges in our Reiki business anyway, because that's part of the business experience, but guaranteed, if you are building a Reiki business that does not align with your own values, you're going to have challenges. So let me give you an example of this from my own Reiki business. Back in 2017, I was at a point on my Reiki business journey where I was considering purchasing a shop. I was going to buy a metaphysical shop, a new age shop, a crystal shop, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm talking about. I was going to buy one of those. And so it was the kind of thing where I had the capital to purchase the shop outright. I did not need to take out a loan. And I was in talks with the owner, the business owner who was looking to sell her shop, about the purchasing of the business. I was also in discussions with the landlord. The shop, the business was in a rented retail space. And so I was in talks with the commercial real estate company about that property. And I ultimately decided that it wasn't the right fit for me. I ultimately decided not to purchase the business. You know, there were a few reasons that went into it. One was I would have changed the business name, and I didn't care for all of the inventory. It didn't align with me and my vibe, and I would have moved the business. So where it was located, I didn't even necessarily think was the best fit. So ultimately, it was not the right decision. But one of the big reasons, even given all that it was not the right decision for me was that it conflicted with one of my personal values. Outside of those five, one of my personal values is freedom. I value freedom. I like to be able to set my own schedule and to come and go as I please, to book off a day when I look at my calendar a couple weeks ahead. Oh, I don't have any appointments? Great. I'm just going to block that day off. No one can schedule, and I'm going to go for a hike. So freedom is very important to me. And when I reflected on this particular business model for myself of having a set physical location with a retail shop that really focused on the shop. And yeah, I could have workshops and I could have sessions at the shop, but the focus of the business itself was the shop and the inventory and the managing of all of that. I decided, you know what, that actually does not align with my value for freedom. Because when you have a shop, you've got to have the shop open. You've got to go open the doors and be there and present. And I decided that I really didn't want to be chained to a shop. Now, someone else listening might say, that sounds like heaven. Please, I want to be quote unquote chained. Of course, that's my term, to the shop. Yes, I want that. And at that point on my Reiki business journey, I didn't want that. Now, there are ways around that. You know, I could have hired someone to be in the shop while I was doing sessions and, you know, workshops and whatever else. And maybe I could have had open hours that weren't every single day. But when it comes to a retail space, one of the keys to making it work is being open. And especially with a retail space, you know, yes, you can hire someone to be in the shop for you when you don't want to be there. But especially at the beginning, you're really the one who's going to be there a lot. And so that just didn't align with one of my core values of freedom. And so it wasn't the right choice for me. Now, it doesn't mean that at some point on my Reiki business journey, it won't be the right choice. You know, things happen, things change. And so it may very well at some point, who knows, I'm open to the possibilities as I am with my whole Reiki business journey, of course. But at that point, it was not the right decision, and I'm really glad I didn't go through with it. I'm really glad that, you know, again, there were plenty of other variables that were not favorable to me, but ultimately, even if all of those things had been positive, the inventory and the space and the business name and et cetera, there still would have been conflict for me. it still eventually would have resulted in some conflict to the point where I would have had to make some modifications and maybe even would have sold the business myself. So it's important for us to know what our core values are so that we are building a business that doesn't conflict with those core values. Because, like I mentioned, anytime that we have a conflict in our lives with our core values, we're setting ourselves up for challenges, and indeed, we can be setting ourselves up to fail. Like if I had purchased that business and if I had opened that retail shop, I might have been setting myself up for failure with that because I would have potentially seen it as a chore to go into the shop each day. Oh, it's a gorgeous day. I would really love to go hiking, but I got to go open up that dang shop. Ugh, what a bummer. Whereas, I might be like, oh, great. I can have a session. I have a session in the morning. Great. I can take off in the afternoon and go out for a hike in the afternoon. Whereas with the shop, if I'm saying, yes, I'm open today from 9 to 5, I better dang well be open from 9 to 5, or I'm going to have customers who are going to come to not appreciate the fact that I'm not open when I say I am. And then I'll have no customers. So it's really important for us to make sure that when we start our Reiki business and as we build our Reiki business, we're aligning with our own personal values and that we are bringing our values to the building of our Reiki business. I'm going to talk about this at the How to Start Your Reiki Business workshop, as a matter of fact, because this is an important place to start with your Reiki business when you start a Reiki business. So I'm actually going to talk about this at the workshop on October 24th. Again, you can register at standingstoneshealing.com/ReikiBizKit. But our own personal values can also inform those Reiki business values and even be one and the same. So yes, you can have your Reiki business values as your personal values and use your personal values to build your Reiki business on. That's actually not such a bad thing. So your values, because you, especially at the beginning, are really not separate from your Reiki business in many ways, it can be very helpful and even important to start building your Reiki business on your own personal values so that you're not building your Reiki business on quicksand. You're not building your Reiki business on a foundation that doesn't align with your own personal foundation. And so when we build our Reiki business from a strong foundation that is aligned with our own personal values, we're having a greater chance of success in our Reiki business. We're setting our Reiki business up for a greater chance of success, especially long term. Of course, you can always change. If you find that your Reiki business model doesn't really align with your own core values, you can always change. Yes, indeed. And when we start off on a solid foundation, we really set ourselves up for a greater chance of success. Now, I talk more about this idea of centering our Reiki business on our values in the Build Your Reiki Business program. It's actually a whole lesson in the Build Your Reiki Business program in Module 2. I also talk about how you can bring your personal values in and use them as part of your branding in your Reiki business. So that's something you can do. I also, in the Build Your Reiki Business program, have an exercise to help you with your own personal values and defining those, which is also really important. So I go more in depth into this in the Build Your Reiki Business program. But I really want to emphasize that when you're starting out your Reiki business, especially, it's very important to make sure that you are aligning your business model and how you're setting up your Reiki business with your own personal values. So please do make sure that you are reflecting on your personal values and that you are not starting a Reiki business and setting up your Reiki business and building a Reiki business that ultimately conflicts with those values. Who knows where I might be right now if I had indeed purchased that shop back in 2017. Where might I be? I don't know. Would I still be running the shop? I don't know. Would I have just gotten used to it? Would I have hired someone else? I don't know. I really don't know. But what I do know is that freedom is one of my core values. And I do know that there definitely would have been some conflict for me if I had purchased that shop. So, of course, as always, you can get the free Reiki Biz Kit at standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Kit. That's, yes, indeed, also where you can sign up for the workshop. And of course, as always, you're welcome to join us in the Reiki Business Collective at facebook.com/groups/Reiki Biz and share with us, what are your Reiki business values? What are your personal values? Are they one and the same? How are you treating values in your Reiki business? Have you given it any thought? Join us and join in on the conversation in the Reiki Business Collective Facebook group. And of course, as always, you can check out the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build and start building your Reiki business right now. Well, as always, I'm sending you so many blessings and best wishes for your Reiki business. And for sure, I am sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business values. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.